SMPEarth, a place where mysteries are around every corner. If you're anything like me, you love a good old mystery, especially when you have to work together to figure out the answer. Today, we're going to be talking about one mystery in particular, the Octangula ARG. Now, you may be familiar with the term ARG, but for all the new kids who haven't the slightest, I'll explain. ARG is an abbreviation for Alternate Reality Game. This can be a number of different things, but the most common example I've seen is when video games or TV shows or any other form of media decides to leave clues and puzzles for the community to solve. When the puzzles are solved, the community is often given some form of new content as a reward for solving the ARG. These clues commonly appear in the real world or other forms of media, and even inside the media that spawned the ARG in the first place. This is where the alternate reality part of the term comes in. The alternate reality being our real world. We'll be talking more about alternate realities in this video, but that comes a little bit later. For now, let's just start from the very beginning. It's the first day of SMPEarth. Over 20 people are roaming the planet in an attempt to claim their desired land. One of these people is everyone's favorite pig, Technoblade. He has his eyes on the Empire of Antarctica, and with the help of Philza and voiceover Pete, they claim the island as their own. However, unbeknownst to the group, they were residing on top of the only end portal on the server. Within the first day, they had more power than anyone else on SMPEarth. It didn't stop there though. About a day later, Pete and Techno noticed a strange symbol to the west of the Antarctic. This caused them to speculate about the possibility of a conspiracy taking place on SMPEarth. Techno at the time was luring a chicken across the globe with the aim of creating a sustainable food source for the Antarctic Empire, and Philza was offline. This meant it was up to everyone's favorite boomer, voiceover Pete, to investigate the mysterious symbol. Pete flew his plane across the Arctic until 5 bright lights came into his view. He circled the lights until his plane finally landed on the ice. After claiming the area, he gazed into the water where Pete could see an assortment of valuable resources, including iron, diamonds, and obsidian. Right in the center of the lights was a room made of ice, and inside was a chest that was being protected by a polar bear named Herbert. At first, Pete struggles to get into the room due to lack of oxygen in the water, but eventually he breaks his way in. He comes face to face with Herbert, resulting in an epic battle taking place, to which Pete was victorious. After slaying the Guardian, he opens the chest and finds a music disc called
Octangula.
Pete leaves the disc behind, but later returns with the help of Technoblade. The duo harvest the symbol for its valuables, including 36 iron blocks, 9 diamond blocks, and 5 beacons. They returned home to the Antarctic stronghold, where they listened to the Octangula disc. On the first listen, it just sounds like a creepy, distorted version of the Garfield theme song, but things weren't as they seemed. After the disc was played to the stream, a team of dedicated viewers were at home, working hard to translate the disc. What they discovered was that in the background of the audio, there was Morse code, which was then translated into a series of numbers. But these weren't just any numbers. These were actually coordinates that led to a strange chunk in Russia. Pete's chat brought this to his attention during his next livestream, and helped guide him to the coordinates. It took some time and quite a lot of help from the admins, but he eventually figured it out. He dug down on the exact coordinates and discovered another chest. Inside the chest was a book titled Octangula, and a totem of undying called Visionaire. Inside the book was a strange URL, but when this URL is typed into a search browser, nothing comes up. The link doesn't exist. But this is where the totem of undying comes in. Visionaire, if you didn't know, is actually the name of a method of encrypting alphabetic text. I won't explain the details of how the cipher works, but if you want to know, then there's a cool video by Udacity that shows you everything you need to know about the Visionaire cipher. I'll leave a link in the description. Pete's chat got to work and ran the URL through the Visionaire cipher using the keyword Octangula, which led them to a different link, SMPEarth.com/Stellar. On the page was a 7-day countdown, and no one knew what it was leading to. After the discovery of the countdown, it seemed like there was nothing left to do except wait. That was until Chip, the owner of SMPEarth, was spotted in the northeast corner of the map, creating a new Octangula. Immediately, Twitch chat went crazy and encouraged any online streamers to head to the northeast as soon as possible. One of these streamers was Reflex, who was the first person to explore the new Octangula. Unlike the previous Octangula, this was a fully 3D structure and not just a drawing in the ice. Reflex had to use a water elevator to make his way to the top of the structure. In the center of the Octangula was a villager named Nietzsche, after the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was commonly associated with nihilism. The villager was hiding a chest. Inside the chest was another book, this one titled Tetrahedron. Inside the book was another series of numbers. Just like the previous Octangula, the newly formed ARG team got to work and used the clues they had to decipher the code. Nietzsche, as I said earlier, was commonly associated with nihilism. Using this clue, the ARG team will lead to a new cipher called the Nihilist Cipher. The team ran the numbers through the cipher, using the keyword tetrahedron, which translated to holofractal. To quote the ARG Wikipedia directly, "Holofractals are a series of geometric shapes, beginning with a tetrahedron, then an octangula, and ultimately reaching a cubiform shape. Presently documented structures exhibit a similarity to holofractals. This may suggest that existence is inherent to a sort of computer simulation." Basically, it implies that SMPEarth is perhaps some kind of simulated world, which makes a lot of sense. After all, it is a simulated recreation of the real planet Earth in Minecraft. We already know this, so why is it being told to us through a series of puzzles in this way? Or maybe there's something even deeper about this that we don't know. The next day, Reflex, Dinkster Daily, King Burren, and Michael McChill were on a quest to raid the Antarctic Empire for their end portal. However, their attention was drawn away by a mysterious plot of land that had been claimed by a faction called the Wilderness. The faction had no listed leader, members, or description. The boys headed to the center of the claim, where they found a shrine in the shape of a sundial. Reflex found that it was actually impossible to break blocks near the shrine, meaning they were forced to solve the puzzle to reap the rewards. Reflex didn't like that and decided to abuse the system and quickly opened the GUI of a barrel that was hidden behind an unbreakable block. Inside, there was a book called Warren, with a very long series of letters that needed to be deciphered. A few hours after the Wilderness raid ended, the book was deciphered using the Visionaire cipher with the keyword holofractal. The book was decoded into a few short sentences that reads, "Laramie, where did you go? Where are you, Laramie? Old Happy Jack is red in the face. Why'd you run off like that? Meet me in the Warren near the Creek of Crows. Big Prism, KUFC. Chip didn't like the fact that Reflex cheated to obtain the book, and took it away from his inventory whilst the group was leaving the island. Reflex went back to take the book again, but Chip kept attacking the group with lightning. This didn't keep the group away for long though, and ultimately, they managed to obtain a second book, which was also named Warren. Inside the book was more code, which was ran through the Visionaire cipher once more. When translated, the code reads, "Past info void. Warren is dead. You cheated. Look elsewhere. The prize is not yours today. Look elsewhere. Big Prism." The book seemed to imply that the information in the first book was now meaningless because it was obtained unfairly. The ARG team still kept the information in case it was needed, but for now it was deemed a dead end. Over the next few days, the team spent many hours solving puzzles and obtaining information. Nothing truly substantial took place until about 4 days later, when the stellar countdown finally hit 0. Upon the completion of the countdown, a new update was rolled out to SMPEarth, and the stellar page changed from a countdown to text that said guns. This was clearly a reference to the new SMPEarth update, which included the addition of, you guessed it, guns. Although, the ARG certainly didn't end with firearms. A member of the ARG team used Inspect Element on the brand new guns page. What they found were these coordinates: X8641 and Z2361. The coordinates led to another location in Russia. The team once again had to get the attention of the online players. The chosen paladin ended up being I Am Spoon, who made his way to the coordinates, where he found a large dip in the ground. He dug down on the exact coordinates and found a new music disc called Sheridan. Spoon flew back home as soon as possible and played the disc in a jukebox. What followed was a jazzy tune with some indiscernible speech in the background. Once the song ended, a really strange noise played, and if I'm being honest, it's kinda indescribable, so I'll just play a clip.
Well, I'm gonna have nightmares.
And yeah, that was a fart noise at the end of that whole thing. Anyway, the ARG ran the audio through a spectrogram, which, if you didn't know, is basically just a way of visualizing the strength of a sound. When ran through the spectrogram, the text once again reads Sheridan, with a smaller string of code beneath the former, and a very ominous looking face. The code turned out to be base 64, and when ran through a decoder, revealed new coordinates which led to Sheridan County, Kansas. Spoon hauled his ass over to the Sheridan County, and once he arrived at the exact coordinates, he began to dig down. Once he reached below Y level 7, he discovered a room deep underground. The whole place kind of looked like an office building. Spoon found a door which had an octangular shape above it, and inside was a strange contraption. He stood on a pressure plate when entering the room, which then sent him a message in the chat with even more code. The ARG team used the Visionaire cipher with the keyword Big Prism, and the text was translated to Big Prism 1.0, please enter password. The machine was some kind of computer, and it was asking for a password. Spoon searched the offices some more, where he found another room with 2 skeletons. One was named Warren, and the other was named Warden. This obviously refers back to the book that was discovered at the sundial. The book that claimed Warren is dead. Spoon went back to the main room and found a chest with written books inside. One book was named Employees, and it had a list of several names of people who we presume worked in the office. Another book titled Big Prism 1.0 had a list of chapters inside, which seemed to imply that the office was some kind of place to research and experiment fractal holographic universe theory. Another room was discovered with a large sign that said Laramie Online. Inside a barrel, Spoon found a book which seemed to be from an employee asking for the password to the Big Prism computer, although no response was found to this book. Spoon went back to the Big Prism computer and decided he was going to try and figure out the password. His first attempt was to throw something in the machine that wasn't even a book. His attempt was denied. He attempted to throw a book inside with the code PARP, which was a word found in one of the books. It was still denied, except this time the machine told him that there was only 10 attempts remaining and that the book had to be signed. Spoon tried several more books and quills, all with different passwords and signings, but nothing seemed to work. The machine kept spitting out more hints, one hint being easier than you think, and another being the number 13. After about a day of people attempting to solve the password, more was discovered about the computer, such as the computer only takes 10 attempts every 24 hours, and if you put a book in while it's on cooldown, the timer resets. Sneak, who thought he had found the password, wasn't very happy about this one. The next day was pretty uneventful. Sneak, Spoon, and Kara were still trying to solve the password, to no avail. They were led on what seemed to be a progression of the ARG, but it ultimately just led to a troll by the admins. Meanwhile, the ARG team were coming to the conclusion that the password was Laramie Online. Their suspicions were confirmed a day or so later, when Kara returned to the office and entered Laramie Online as a password into the computer, which resulted in a victory for her and the ARG team. The Big Prism computer accepted the password and then sent a message in the chat saying this: "Success. Booting up. Files will be ready tomorrow at 12 AM GMT. This was 18 hours from the current time. All anyone could do now was wait. And as of the creation of this video, that's the latest development of the Octangula ARG. I'd like to give a shout out to the ARG team, who are currently doing most of the puzzle solving on this ARG. I'd also like to shout out Grasslandia from the SMPEarth public Discord, who helped tremendously with the historical accuracy of this video. If you'd like to keep up to date and read about the ARG, then I highly recommend joining the SMPEarth public Discord. I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in part 2 of the Octangula ARG.